A very good afternoon to all of you present here. This is Abhishek Pawar, and I work as a sustainability educator at Recycle. And today we'll be talking about a lot of challenges that come up in the field of waste management, be it at at a stakeholder, any stakeholder level, or we as individuals who generate waste. So there are a lot of challenges that we face as well. And we also know that we want to do something for the environment. We want to do something about the plastic waste when we see, but we always tend to think, what can I do, how can I make a difference? So these are the points that we will be discussing. So before we begin the session, I would just like to introduce myself. I am Abhishek Pawar, and I have been working in this field for last 4 years now. And I have been interacting with a lot of stakeholders in this field. I have been interacting with a lot of rack pickers. I've been interacting with a lot of policymakers as well. I have been interacting with a lot of recyclers and also a lot of companies who are facing a lot of challenges. And what I got to know by interacting with all of them is that there are a lot of challenges when it comes to each stakeholders. But the biggest challenge that we need to address is our own behavior, through which to this session, what we will be what we'll be trying is to address this challenge, and maybe what are the steps that can be taken at an individual level. So this is what the session will be all about, and then we'll be moving on to question and answers. Whether you have any doubts, or how you can start, your own sustainable waste management practice at home, and how you can take it to the community to make a difference. Because when we talk about waste management, yes, one individual does make a lot of difference. But when that one individual takes it to the community, that's where the biggest difference starts, and that is what we will be doing. So we'll just begin the session, and throughout the session we'll be discussing what is the impact of waste management, and what are the sources of waste basically, and what are the impacts of waste management on different elements of the environment. That is what we will be discussing about. So we'll just begin the session. Now I want you to guess, where this beach is located. Now this beach, you see it's water, and you can see is a little bit of plastic, not a little bit of plastic, but a lot of plastic is lying on the shore. So I just want you to answer, where this beach is located. Uh, you can post your answers in the chat, and yeah, let me see what are the answers we're getting. Yeah. I just want you to answer the question on the chat, and we'll discuss. I'll tell you where this beach is located, but first of all, I want you to guess where it is. You can. I'll give you. Okay, we have the Andamans. We have Kolkata. Okay, India. Okay, India is a very broad term, I would say. Yes, somewhere in South India. Okay. We can have one more answer over here, and then I'll tell you. Okay, West Bengal. All right. So, like the first answer was correct. Mr. Raghvendra Rao said that the first answer was Andamans, and yes, this beach is in Andamans. I'm sure Mr. Raghvendra Rao would have attended this session earlier, so that's the reason he knows the answer. Anyway, so the reason I asked you this question is because when we talk about plastic waste in the oceans, it's not just limited to the shores on the mainland, because even a pristine and a very clean place like Andamans, where there is low population, where there is very low population, still faces the same challenge as we do on the mainland, where we have 1.3 billion population. So that's something that should alarm us, basically. And let me tell you that this plastic is not a plastic which has actually originated in Andamans. Yes, a lot of plastic might be originated in Andamans, but a lot of plastic which you see in the picture is not originated in Andamans. It has washed up from different places, be it in the Asia Pacific, be it from different oceans, be it from the southern oceans. So plastic is everywhere, because what happens is when plastic is generated, when it reaches the ocean currents carry it to different places. That's what happens. So most of this plastic, when it was looked at, the packaging, a lot of packaging was from the brands which are not available in India. So that's how we figured out that this is one of the serious challenges that we're facing. And it is not just about the Andamans. The story of Himalayas ain't so different. I mean, it's not just the oceans, but the same problem exists in the hills where there is a lot of challenges regarding the mobility. It's again a big problem because when there is an increase in tourist influx, all of the tourists, they go to these places from mainland, and what we don't do is basically we don't change our habits. That's one of the biggest problems that we have. Now this is the picture that I clicked in Ladakh, the top one. It's near the Pangong Lake, which is like in the middle of controversy right now. And the picture below that you see is of somewhere near Shimla. Now the reason I put this picture is I want to show that the challenge and the problem that we see is of a massive scale. It's not just an aesthetic problem that we see कि यार देखने में गंदा लग रहा है. It's not that. It's affecting the mere ecosystem, which are very sensitive, which is very sensitive in these areas. It is affecting that, and that's one of the biggest challenges that we are having. So that's how we are kind of trying to inform you that the problem is very massive. Now, coming back to the numbers, uh, we are producing around 9.25 million tons of plastic waste. The numbers which are given below, they are equivalent to the weight of those monuments which are given, like 771 Taj Mahals, 1.4 million Qutub Minars. Just imagine 1.4 million Qutub Minars, and that is the amount of plastic waste. That is just the plastic waste that we are generating every year. Now, when we look at a total number of waste, not just plastic waste but the overall waste, I have not mentioned here because that number is something that would worry us, so I've not just put it over here, but it's nearly 63 million tons a year. That is the amount of overall waste that we produce, out of which 9.25 million tons is plastic waste, and that is something that we should be worried about. So it's 1.4 million Qutub Minars and let's say 660 Char Minars. So this is the amount of plastic that we are generating every year. Now, for moving forward, who do you think is responsible for this? I need some answers in the chat, like whether you see whether you think that the systems are not working properly, the laws are not being executed, or we just lack the infrastructure to manage the overall waste that we have. I just want you to answer that. And let me see the chat. Yes, yes, Mr. Subramaniam says that he's a repeat customer. Yes, he has been very active in all of our webinars. Yeah, every individual is responsible. Capitalism, which leads to over exploitative. Okay, poor schooling, education, and awareness, all are responsible. Okay, so implementation of laws. Okay, so we've been getting a lot of these answers, and let me just tell you that whenever we talk about these challenges, the major challenge that we have is from the consumer side. That is one of the biggest challenges that we have. The consumers, when we as consumers we are not able to dispose the waste properly, that is where the problem begins. But again, when we talk about India as a developing countries, yes, there are gaps in infrastructure. Yes, the laws are also not being executed in a very proper manner, and also there are systems which lack that basic basic infrastructure to manage that kind of waste. Now these are the things that these are the things that are affecting all of this. But the major thing that our habits, the way we dispose waste, the way we dispose the plastic, the way we dispose different types of waste that is generated in our household, that itself has to be looked upon. Because when you look at the journey of waste, so sorry, when you look at the journey of waste, or let's say the journey of plastic, it's not so easy. It goes through a very complex channel. What happens is when you dispose the waste out of your house, whenever you do, so the vehicle, the tipping vehicle or the vehicle from the municipal corporation, they come and pick up the waste. And what happens is when that waste is taken to a material recovery center, or a transfer station, to put it that way, a lot of waste has already lost its value. When the plastic is mixed with a lot of biodegradables, or something which is which is like wet waste or food waste. When the plastic gets mixed with that, the people who work at the material recovery facility, they don't tend to touch that because it's dirty, and the whole value of that plastic is lost. So the only thing advisable is to that plastic separately. We'll come to that later on. But what happens is when this whole plastic is not kept separately, that's where the biggest challenge begins. Now everything has to be dumped. For example, if I mix all my waste into one bag and I just throw it away, now everything will be dumped, even though 40 or 50% of the contents of that bag which I just threw were recyclable. But no one will touch it because it's all dirty. And that is the biggest problem. And that's how it ends up at a wrong place. Now what happens is when it is dumped, no one tends to touch it. And then there are floods, there are strong winds. You recently saw the floods in Hyderabad. So a lot of those floods were being affected by like plastic waste. And let me also tell you that if you look at the history of floods in Mumbai for the last 4 or 5 years, the major reason that they are attributing these floods to are choking of drainage systems by plastic bags. Now just imagine floods just because of plastic. Like this is where we are right now, and that is what has been happening in all the places. It's not just Mumbai is just an example, but if you see the picture, the rivers are getting choked because of the plastic. And when these rivers, when they take that plastic along with the sediments to the ocean, that's where the major problem starts. It ends up into the water bodies of marine animals, because marine animals are completely unaware of what we do on land, right? Like all other animals on land as well. Like they don't know what plastic is. Basically they just tend to eat because they like the smell of the food which is inside. So that's one of the major challenges that we have. Now talking about a picture of turtle which you see on your screen. Now turtle, take any sea turtle, be it hawksbill, or be it olive ridley, or I'm not sure about a lot of breeds, but yeah, most of the sea turtles which are there, they have jellyfish as their staple food. Jellyfish is something that all the turtles eat. Now what happens is when they see a floating plastic bag, they are not able to make out a difference between a jellyfish and a plastic bag, because they are not equipped to know that. And that's when the problem begins. They end up eating a plastic bag, they get choked, and that's how the ecosystem gets disturbed. This is what is happening right now. I'm not even making this up. This is something that has been happening. And when we think about this, the problem is local as well as global, because for a problem to become global, it starts at a local level. When you don't segregate, or when you don't start taking care of the waste at your household, that's when the problem becomes bigger and it becomes global. And that is what is been happening. The way our plastic consumption has increased, the same way our management of that plastic is not being up to the mark, and that is why the problem is there. And it is not just about India. I mean, like we might be thinking that India mein itna ganda hai, ye hai, aesthetically pleasing nahi hai. It's not just about India. Every country is in the same, I would say it's in the same scale. All of the countries in the world are facing this problem. And that's how this has become a global problem, but has started locally at each and every place. Now the question comes, what can I do about it? Now that is something that, the question which might be in your mind, like, how am I supposed to contribute towards this thing? Like, what will I do? Like, you must have heard about refuse, reduce, reuse, repurpose, and recycle. Now, all these are just terms, but if we put it into the action, that is where the difference will start. We have to put these terms into action, and that is what we will be discussing in the next part of the presentation. That the actual actionables that we are supposed to have when it comes to managing plastic waste at a household level. Because like I said, the problem might be global, but it starts locally. It starts from each and every household. So let's just look at how we can make a difference. So whenever you go out, I'm sure all of you must have already started carrying a cotton bag, or let's say a hard plastic bag which you might be using, which might be reusable as well. But if you are not using a plastic, if you are not using a cotton bag or a reusable bag, what one action that you can take is that you can start using the bag. Basically, you can start keeping a bag in your two-wheeler or in your car, a cotton bag, a simple cotton bag, because whenever you go out, there are chances that you have to bring something, right? Like even when I go out for some other work, my mother always calls me up. She says, bring this, bring that. So I always make sure that there's a cotton bag in my vehicle or my car, basically. So this is something that you can start with. So if let's say there are around 200 people in our session right now, I would say if 200 people stop, start taking cotton bags when they go out, we are essentially reducing 200 cotton bags in the environment. That's how we are refusing it. So the message is loud and clear. It is up to us how we can make a difference. So when you say that mere ek ke karne se kya hoga, you might be right, but let's say there are 200 people over here. If all of you start taking the action, we are essentially reducing 200 bags from the environment. So that is how these things work. So what you can do is you can just start taking a cotton bag with you in your car or in your two-wheeler or a scooty or wherever you go. Always carry a cotton bag. The second thing, now using plastic is not a crime. I would say it's not a crime. And I have been talking to a lot of people who think that we are making plastic the villain. No, it's not that. Plastic is a wonder product. Let me tell you, it was, when plastic came into the market, it just, it's a very useful product. That's what I mean to say. When you talk about plastic, it has a lot of applications, right from making clothes to sending rockets in the ocean. Like it's that important. So we are not making the plastic villain over here, but the way we have been managing plastic is somewhere the problem is. So what you can do is you can figure out what are the plastic elements you basically use in your daily lives, and you can keep them separately before disposing. Now what happens is when you keep all that plastic separate, the other waste, like let's say paper waste or cardboard waste or glass waste or anything, when you keep all the plastic separately, most of the waste does not lose its value, because if you keep the food waste separately and dispose it separately, the other waste remains clean. So when that waste is clean, the person who collects the waste at a material recovery facility or the transfer station where it is the recyclables are collected and the rest is sent for further processing, when they collect that waste, when they see the clean waste which you have given to them separately, the chance of it being recycled are 100%. That is something that you can do. Now when you keep your plastic waste or your dry waste separately, I would say plastic waste and the other dry waste, if you keep that separately, you can also channelize it to the local scrap dealer or a local kabadi wala, because that kabadi wala might not pay you a lot of money like they pay for newspapers or glass bottles. Let's put it that way. But what he can ensure is he will make sure that the plastic that you give to him or her, they will be channelizing it to recyclers, because the plastic is clean and it does have value. That is the biggest advantage that we have. So the best thing is keep the plastic separately, the dry waste separately, and the food waste or the wet waste which can be degraded, it biodegradable, you can keep it separately so that each type of waste has maximum value. And when you also put the biodegradable waste or the food waste separately, the chances of it being converted to a compost are very very high, because all the material recovery facilities, they have composting units as well. But the only reason it is not efficient is because we always tend to send the mixed waste into the facility, and that is where the whole problem lies. So this is something that you can start doing. So again, dry waste, plastic waste, and wet waste, or the biodegradable waste. Now this is something that you can start practicing right now. Earlier there were just two, wet waste and dry waste. That is also fine if you want to start. But keeping the plastic separately is the need of the hour. And we have moved forward from just dry waste and wet waste to plastic waste, dry waste, and wet waste. So that is something that we need to do. And we as a company also have a lot of collection drives within societies in Pune, in Hyderabad, in Mumbai. We also have a lot of collection drives in these places. So there might be local companies as well who might be putting up stalls in your societies to collect all the plastic waste. Always try to give that plastic or whatever dry waste that you have to these collection points, when because these collection points, they are generally based on a model where you get some money, you get some incentive. And when you get that incentive, it is bound to be a fact that if you are getting the money, there might be some market for that particular product, and that is why you're being paid. And that is the whole model. It works how it works. So basically, when you drop the plastic at a collection point, or let's say even a kabadi wala, he might not pay you, or he might pay you a very very little amount. But the fact is, everything will be channelized in a proper way, and that is what we need to do, right? And participate. Basically, people have this challenge of soft power. Now soft power is something that we are currently doing. I am trying to make all the people aware. We are 200 people here today, and I'm trying to make everyone aware that how single use plastic can be avoided, how you can channelize plastic towards recycling or co-processing, or whatever processing part that is. How can you channelize the waste plastic? Now participating and taking the action has a lot of impact on the next generation, because when your kids see you segregating the waste, that is something that they will learn and they will imbibe in their daily lives. That is what we need to do. And when you do this, you are creating leaders for tomorrow. We need 200 children who take this initiative and implement it in the society, and that's how change begins. So participating and using that soft power is very very important, and that is how we can move forward. And what happens when this is channelized? And that's a pretty important question. Like, let's say मैंने channelize कर दिया, मैंने ये कर दिया, मैंने वो कर दिया, कहाँ गया फिर मेरा कचरा? Now what happens is, when you channelize your waste, it can be utilized in a lot of different ways. It's not necessary that each and every plastic is recycled. It's not necessary, but each and every type of plastic is utilized, and that's the most important part. Now the picture that you see on your screen is that we used plastic bottles to create a greenhouse. And it's not just one greenhouse, it's just in the picture, but we created a lot of greenhouses for different purposes. Some of the greenhouses were made to store plastic waste only, and some of the greenhouses were made to be used for agricultural purposes. Now what happens is, in the northeast, in Arunachal Pradesh, there are a lot of transportation challenges. So the material transportation is a very big challenge where we face. So whatever material is available locally, we use that with the help of our few partners, and we came up with this concept where we are making these greenhouses for different purposes. It can be used for any purpose. It's just a storage space. It can be used to store waste. It can be used for agriculture. It can be used for anything. So we are currently using it for two purposes, and it's completely made out of waste plastic. That is what we are doing. The picture that you see of a footpath. Now, the plastic that is used in the footpath is basically 50% is plastic and 50% is construction and demolition waste. Whenever we break a house, or whenever we whenever there's reconstruction of any place, or whenever there is construction of any place, there's a lot of C&D waste which is generated, which we call it as construction and demolition waste. Now, there are companies out there who use the construction and demolition waste as well as the non-recyclable plastic waste. Non-recyclable, I'm talking about, plastic waste which cannot be recycled. So they fuse this waste and they come up with, beautiful bricks like these, which you see. Now, the picture that you see is from Noida, and a lot of municipalities in the NCR region, they have been using these bricks as footpath tiles, or paver blocks, the way we put it. Now that is something which can be done. And the picture below that you see is of a dam. Now this dam was constructed by a community in Sangli, Maharashtra, where they were facing problems. They didn't have money basically to create this whole dam. So there was one of a retired soldier in that community. He was from the army. So what he did was, they wanted to solve the problem of water shortage, and they also wanted to solve the problem of plastic pollution in the city. So what they did is they made a dam. They solved the water problem, and they also solved the plastic problem because they made a dam out of waste plastic. Now, there are ways and methods out there which people are experimenting, and that's how we have to contribute towards those actions, because when you keep your plastic clean, that is the only way it can be utilized further. Because all the plastic that you see in the dam, in those foot paver blocks on the footpath, or let's say these bottles, plastic bottles in the greenhouses, each and every type of plastic was clean, it was separated. And that's why the segregation part is the most important part when we talk about it. So each type of plastic cannot be recycled, but each type of plastic can be utilized for something better. That is what I wanted to convey by showing these pictures. And yes, talking about the Andaman Nicobar, we are taking care of the Andamans. Like I showed you the picture of that beach in the Andamans. We have been working in the Andamans. That beach is not that unclean right now. It's pretty much clean. And whenever you visit Andamans, and you visit any beach, and if you see it clean, there is some contribution that we have done in order to make it clean. And we have been working in the Andamans during the lockdown as well, where we kind of channelize the plastic waste, around 30 to 35 tons of plastic waste per month to the mainland, and from the mainland to different recyclers. That is what we have been doing. So we're taking care of the Andamans, and we have contributed to the cleanliness and the plastic challenge in the Andamans in some way or the other. So if you have any story, if you are taking an initiative at your personal level or at a household level, I request you to share your story with us. We have our social media handles. And what we will do is we'll take that story towards the world. Now, the picture that I showed to you, the dam construction, it was a story just like this. It's a person taking an initiative and then showing it to the world that that there is hope out there. So if you have any story with you, any sustainability story, not just regarding plastic, but any story for sustainability, share it with us, and we'll make sure that your story gets the traction that it requires. So you can also make your voice heard. So this whole presentation and everything was a part of UNDP India and Hindustan Coca-Cola Beverages Project Prithvi, where Recycle is the implementation partner for this program in 6 states. Under this program, we are channelizing around 6,000 metric tons of plastic waste, and we are reaching out to nearly 20,000 people for community and awareness. So that is the whole objective of this program. And we thank our partners for giving us the opportunity to interact with you. And towards the end, we'll also be taking questions and letting you know how we can make this even better. What are the actionables that can be done? So once again, I would like to thank all of you. And we will be making sure that the question answer round is there. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, I can already see the questions over here. Nice. In society and not knowing the damage created so far, Jesle Jesudas said. Jesle, would you like to come online and talk about it? I can see one hand raised. Ratan Gopal. Uh, yes, sir. You can unmute yourself and ask your question if you have any. Hello, Mr. Ratan Gopal.
Hello.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm Mrs. Ratan Gopal here.
Okay.
Okay. I had taken a course on waste management and sustainability from a lady in Goa. It
Okay.
was a pretty nice course, about 12 weeks course. And I have been practicing quite a bit of it since I was already using cotton cloth bag instead of plastic and all that. But I got to know a lot more and I started segregating my waste at home and started making stuff at home, which I would have normally bought from outside, and then started buying loose stuff instead of packed stuff. Kept going
Okay.
out and getting stuff instead of ordering it online and things like that. Of course, the lockdown has messed it all up quite a bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
But my thing was, I know, I mean, like this doesn't happen overnight and things like that. But I have been using now from 2 dustbins, I've gone to 7 dustbins now.
Okay.
Different
That's
things
great.
like
That's great.
bottles separately, and then cardboard separately, and electrical things up separately. So sometimes, those things keep sitting around for quite some time, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Main issue comes is dry waste, which of course I segregate and it goes out. The plastic, even the milk packets, I don't cut them fully. I just cut them a little bit so that little tiny bit is still there and the
Yeah.
plastic thing doesn't get loose and then that doesn't get messed up. I wash the plastic milk packet covers and I segregate it and put it. And everybody invariably tells me, why do you bother? Because that guy is going to mess it all up and then going to mix it.
Hmm.
Yes, I do see this happening, but when I am standing there, I look at him and he knows this Amma is going to tell me to put it in a different thing. He has got a separate bag, he puts it in it. But
Okay.
most often when I'm not looking, he mixes it up and they tell me, see, he mixed it up. What are you going to do? I said, see, from my side, I'm doing it.
Yes.
Eventually, if you also do it, then it will help. But
Yes.
invariably, they just end up laughing at me and things like that. But I'm continuing to do it. And yes, my sit out is full of dustbins with all these separate things all over. And
Mhm.
that's the only thing. How can I go about? I have a society here, a community here. Can I
Okay.
get some help in trying to promote this thing? How can you help me in doing that? Because in my society, this is just one lane. We have a bit of a organized system out here. We have a
Okay.
community hall too. Can you help me in some way in trying to reach out to the children? I
Sure.
don't know about the adults, but children, yes.
Definitely. So, ma'am, what you said is extremely right. I mean that's the challenge that we all face. Even when I take out my plastic waste, I generally tend to give it to the scrap dealer. But whenever I'm not there, what my mother does is she separates the waste but gives it to the waste delivery, like the waste collector van, and he mixes it. That's what they do basically. But what can be done is, if there is a guy who regularly comes at your place, maybe the community where you stay, if the collective, if you can take a collective action, not against the guy, but a collective action where you take a stand that we want our waste to be transported in a segregated manner. So that brings a lot of ownership to the waste, the guy who collects the waste, because I'm sure there must be a lot of houses in the community where you stay. So if you can get together, what we can do is we can have a training session like this with the community. If you can, you can bring of all of them together. We can have this session and we can have like different steps which can be taken to make sure that the people in the community segregate that waste, and also the person who comes to collect that waste, he takes it in a segregated manner as well. That can be done. It's a slow change, let me put it that way.
Yeah.
I'll not lie, but it's a slow change. It has to be taken with slowly, and there will be challenges ahead. But the thing is, it can be done if there is regular interaction between the community and the person who collects that waste. It can be done, so we can help you do that.
Yeah, okay. I would like to get in touch with you later,
Yes.
and
Yes,
then
sure.
I
I'll
really would
share
like
my
to take it
email ID
forward.
in the chat. I'll just share
Okay.
my email ID in the chat. So anyone who wants to take up any initiative, or wants to take up an awareness session in the community or with the children, like I said, when I said that we are reaching out to 20,000 people through this program. We are reaching out to rack pickers, we are reaching out to schools, we are reaching out to colleges, we are reaching out to companies as well. We have Fortune 500 companies who are a part of this program. So
Good.
we are
Right.
reaching out to each and every stakeholder, because as a human being we all generate waste, and that's the end of it. Like, we have to be aware of our actions. So I've shared my email ID in the chat. You can get in touch. Everyone can get in touch with me, and we can our team can help you also channelize the waste, plus also any action or any awareness session or any activity that you want to do which can make a difference.
Sure, I
Thank
would
you.
love to do that. I would love to do that. I'll get in touch.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Realme 2 Pro has raised the hand. I don't know the name. I think it's the name of the device. You can unmute yourself. I'm sorry, I can't see the name. It's Realme 2 Pro. You can unmute yourself and ask your doubt. Then we'll be moving on to the doubts which are asked in the chat. Yeah.
Hi, Power.
Hi.
This is Ganesh from Andhra Pradesh.
Okay. Hi, Ganesh.
Okay. Actually, I found one of the finest challenge with plastic recycling process by making bricks and small walls by using plastic bottles.
Okay.
Actually, I'm planning to do that things in my local area, but I'm taking initiative, but nobody responds. Is there any program by yourself is promoting in our local areas?
So from which city in Andhra Pradesh are you from, Ganesh?
Andhra Pradesh from near Rajahmundry and Menpeta.
Okay, you're
Menpeta
from
local.
near Rajahmundry. Okay,
Yeah.
so what can be done is basically if you want to start, want to make an influence, you can start with, let's say, 10 people who kind of trust you in whatever you do. There must be at least 7 to 8 people who might be interested to know what you're doing, and then you can slowly move on from there. Because when you want a community to be a part of your initiative, it's not that easy. Like I said, you have to start with something really small, but you don't have to get discouraged when it is small and when
Okay.
things don't go according to the expectation. Because see, this what we are doing is currently it's a part of the education, and bringing education into the practice, it takes a little bit of time. But what you can do is you can start out with something really small, and then let people know what you are doing with what action that you are taking with that small number of people that you're working with. That is something that can be started to show people that basically, see, I'm taking this action and this is how I am doing my bit for the environment and for the community. So I want you, all of you, to join me. So there will be people who will join slowly. It will happen, but you have to start out really small in this.
Okay. Thank you, Pawan.
Thank you. Yeah. So Sandhya Kaura says, I've tried this a lot with plastic. Many times they just refuse to accept the plastic. Can you come online? I'll just allow you to talk if you're there. Yeah. Sandhya ji, can you elaborate the question?
Mm.
You can unmute
So,
yourself.
hi, I'm Sunil this side. I'm Sandhya's husband.
Okay.
And
Okay.
hi. So what happens is that when we collect a lot of plastic, right? Hello? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Then we're
Yeah.
trying to give it to these, when we try to give it to the aggregator, right? He says,
Yeah.
ये प्लास्टिक नहीं बिकता, पॉलिथीन ये जो होता है ना, दूध के, not ये सब नहीं बिकता. They say that we can't sell this, we don't get any money for it, so you please keep it here, we'll throw it in the dustbin.
Oh.
So there are several times, you know what we do? We sell newspaper and we tell him, ये पैसा तू रख ले newspaper का, but ये तू पहुंचा दे जहाँ पहुंचना है. He takes it from me, but I'm not sure whether I think it goes to the landfill. And this is how it is, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a real challenge that we are having, because a lot of these traders who are working with this old, that old mindset, they're not taking the plastic, and maybe I'm very sure that he might not even know that there is a market out there. That's one of the biggest challenge that we are having in this space. Because let's say if you look at 10 years back, those plastic polythenes were not recyclable. They're not even recyclable. Most of them are not recyclable now as well. But now we have a market. They can be utilized in some way or the other. But they are working with a mindset which is 10 years old. So that's something that there's a gap. So basically what we can do here is we can just store the plastic, and then we can give it to the local vehicle which comes at our house. That's what we can do if he's not taking the plastic, because he'll again throw it in the dustbin. But what we can do is basically you can take all that plastic and dispose it separately. So when it reaches the material recovery facility, or the transfer station, because the waste which is picked up from the household doesn't directly go into the landfill. It goes to a transfer station or a material recovery facility first. If you are from a tier 2 or tier 3 city, if you are from a very smaller town, then there it might be directly going to the landfill. But if you are from a tier 2 or tier 3 city, the waste first goes to an MRF. Now, when that waste goes to an MRF, there are chances that if that plastic is clean enough, it will be collected and it will be sent to a proper recycler. Only the plastic which is soiled or which cannot be utilized further, if it is if it is very dirty, they will not use it. But if, let's say,
MRF का मतलब क्या है? Sorry.
हाँ,
MRF का मतलब क्या हुआ? What do you mean by MRF?
Material recovery facility बोलते हैं. So इसमें क्या होता है कि whenever that waste is collected from the household, it goes to an MRF first, जहाँ पे recyclables collect होते हैं. It doesn't directly go to the landfill. That's what an MRF is. So वहाँ पे जितना भी recyclable होता है, अगर clean होता है तो वो उठा लेते हैं वहां से, and then they send the rest of the waste which cannot be recycled or which is very dirty to the landfill. That's what happens. Yeah. So if you keep all that plastic separately, the chances are they will collect it over there as well. If it is clean.
So we keep it clean, we keep it separately.
Yes.
So I'll tell you something, Abhishek. Good thing is that आपके अनिरुद्ध जी हैं.
Yes.
जलान जी plus आपके अभय मेरे neighbor हैं.
Oh, okay.
And फिर भी हम यार नहीं कर पा रहे ये चीज. हम तो बहुत रिक्वेस्ट करते हैं आपसे, आपके थ्रू अभय जी से, सबसे. मैं अभय को भी फोन करने वाला हूँ इसके बाद कि भाई आप एटलीस्ट हमारे कम्युनिटी में प्लास्टिक पिक करा लो यार.
अगर वैसा है तो हमारा सर्विस भी है यूज्ड करके. इफ यू आर फ्रॉम हैदराबाद और पुणे और एनी टियर 1 सिटी, we are there in 18 cities where we are operating. We have a platform called as Used, UZED. I'll just type it over here.
I know.
Yeah,
I know Used.
Yeah. So that's something that can help you to dispose your plastic as well as your whatever.
But they don't come to our community, na? Used doesn't come to our community.
Okay, so there might be a challenge of that pin code, I think so.
Okay, yeah, correct.
Yeah. So there are certain pin codes in all the cities where we are operating. So that must be a challenge. But what I can do is I can get in touch with the use team and then we can do something about this. That is for sure. Sure.
Thank you, Abhishek. Yeah, बहुत शुक्रिया आपका. At least यार आप लोग बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हो. You guys are channels of God for saving Mother Earth. So all of you are doing fantabulous job. Yeah, I'm very, very thankful to all of you, to the entire team of Recycle and Used. Heartfelt thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Yeah. So, okay. Nabil Siddiqui wants to ask. No, Raghavendra.
मेरे को क्या मेरा कहाँ जाना?
Riddhima asks, say I want to segregate waste at my home, but the people who collect it together. How can I make a difference? So basically, I think we answered this question earlier. What you can do is you can always, keep the waste separately, the plastic waste, the wet waste, the dry waste, and also reach out to the community to do the same. If you keep on doing this, there will be one day, the change will be slow, but there will be one day when the other person and everyone will realize that this is how it has to be done. So you keep on doing what you're doing. So the only thing is we should never get discouraged about the right actions. And I think that's not just in terms of waste management, but I've taken this life lesson as well, that if we think that we are doing right, then let's not get discouraged. So that is something that you can kind of adopt as well in terms of waste management, that keep on doing what you're doing and reach out to the community, reach out to a larger group of people who think alike. And then that's how you can form groups and make a difference. And that's how the whole people participation approach, that's how it works basically. Thank you so much. Raghavendra Rao asks, how can an individual household deal with packaging plastics? Like I said, sir, packaging of plastics is something that everything comes in packaged form nowadays. Now, our role as a consumer is to also buy these things smartly, where we know that the packaging is not much. That is one thing we can do. And if at all we are buying things which come with a lot of plastic packaging, the only thing that we can do is we can keep it separate and make sure that it doesn't reach the environment and harm the environment. Now these are the two approaches. What my personal approach would be is to buy things which come in less packaging. That's what. And also, a lot of e-commerce companies, they started selling a lot of plastic packaged products, like for one small pen drive, a lot of e-commerce companies, they send like this much packaging, like this much. But the National Green Tribunal as well as the Supreme Court has also told them to not use so much plastic packaging, and now they are also cutting down on their plastic usage. And that's a change that has not been just said by the NGT and the Supreme Court. It has been people's activism. Like, people have made a lot of complaints against these e-commerce companies, where to reduce their plastic packaging. So that's something that can be done. And also, when you go to a grocery store or any supermarket or wherever you go, you can always find products which have less packaging, or you can always buy loose products as well which come with less packaging. Now that's something that we can do at an individual level to reduce the plastic footprint that we have. Thank you so much, Raghavendra ji. Okay, so Nabil Siddiqui wants to ask how to start a waste management company in India, what steps to follow, which are the best waste management companies in India. Okay, so starting a waste management company in India is not so difficult, yet not so easy. Basically, first of all, you need to know the behavior of people, the behavior of the companies, the behavior of the local government or the local authority where you want to operate, in the areas that you want to operate. Now all these factors come into the play when you want to start or register a company which deals with waste management. Now these are pretty complicated, and they change from area to area. Now let's say what I mean by these things change from an area to area. The way waste management operates in Hyderabad will not be the same way it might be operating in Ahmedabad. So there's a major difference in the ecosystem. So that's one thing that has to be kept in mind. But yes, the overall ecosystem remains the same. And what are the steps to follow? Now, basically, you need to do a lot of groundwork of the place where you want to start, and then you can slowly scale it up. Now, by groundwork, what I mean is basically you have to go to the dump yard, you have to go and meet the traders, you have to go and meet the scrap dealers, you have to go and meet the local authority and see what are their challenges. Because when you want to start a business, there's that the objective of that business should be also solving a problem. I mean, it shouldn't just be a business if you're not solving any problem, because then you will be redundant in some time. So always we can have that approach where we are trying to solve a problem. Let's say even if we take one stakeholder, if we are able to address the problem of one stakeholder, then also we'll be able to do a lot of business. But if you're not taking any if you're not making anyone's job easy, then that business might not survive in the future. So basically the objective should be what are the problems that we will be solving in waste management. So that is one approach that can be taken. And the third question that you're asking, which are the best waste management companies in India? Now when we talk about waste management companies in India, there are a lot of companies which are homegrown, which belong to India, and which are Indian companies, like Recycle. There are companies like Nepra Resource, which is quite big. There are companies like Ramki Enviro, which is again Hyderabad-based company. So there are Indian companies, and then there are also companies which are not Indian but who are very big in terms of waste management in India. For example, Suez Environment is a French company which deals with water, wastewater, and waste management as well. Then there is Jindal Power, which is again a waste management company which has waste to power, waste to energy plants. So there are certain companies like that which are there. Okay. Ma'am says my flip-flops came packed in a bubble wrap and a huge cardboard box. Ridiculous. Unfortunately, this was during these times. Decided not to buy some stuff online. Yes, you're extremely right. Actually, there's a lot of packaging which is, which we don't require that much packaging. That's the worst part. And I'll tell you, I just got a pair of new shoes yesterday, and it had zero plastic in it. It was just, paper. The shoes were wrapped in a paper, and it was completely in a brown cardboard box, and there was no plastic in it, and I was so happy. And now when I imagine the same thing, if I would have bought those shoes online, I would have received it in a double layered plastic packaging. Now that's something that and also when we buy things from e-commerce, always think about the packaging, because it increases the overall carbon footprint of that product. So that's something that can be taken care of. So I think we'll just check whether we have more questions in Q&A. Okay, Mansi Dongre asked, is waste plastic produce toxic gases when stored in open but in sun? See, waste plastic does not produce toxic gases per se if it is left just if it is just left. But what happens is, when waste plastic is mixed with other types of waste, gases are created because of the chemical reaction. If it is mixed with food waste, then methane is automatically formed, and then it reacts with the plastic. And when it reacts with the plastic, it has to go out, right? The chemical reaction, when it takes place, the gas has to be released, or it creates a lot of pressure. And when it creates a pressure into that space, wherever wherever that plastic and the food waste and everything is dumped, there are fires which cause the air pollution, because the methane out of the food waste has reacted with the plastic waste, and that's how there are chemical reactions. There are toxins released in the atmosphere. And burning of plastic, if you burn the plastic, like literally burn the plastic, yes, there are many toxins which are released. The major of them are dioxins and furans, which are extremely harmful for us. They literally cause cancer. So that's something which is there. And the other question, where to find plastic drop points which is in our area in Hyderabad? Like I said, Jesle Jesudas, yeah. Like I said, we have a service in Hyderabad called as Used, UZED. You can download that app into your iOS or Android, whatever smartphone you're using. You can avail those services, or else you can get in touch with us at support@recycle.com. We'll help you channelize your waste in whatever way we can. So I've just shared the email ID, support@recycle.com. You can reach out to the team. The logistics team take care of this. So they will be able to help you out regarding the channelization of your plastic waste, either through Used app or either in some or the other way. Thank you. Renu Sharma asks, why don't we replace plastic packaging with old paper and old cloth shreddings? I think that's a fantastic idea. That's something that I do as well. I've been using a lot of, I wouldn't say newspapers, but I have a lot of waste paper at my place because my dad also owns a shop. So there's a lot of paper which is there. So I use that paper for wrapping. I generally don't tend to use plastic for packaging, but when it comes to plastic packaging, the whole idea of packaging is completely different, because the supply chains are so long nowadays that if the packing material is not durable, then the goods can be damaged. And that is the reason why people have been using plastic. And that's why I call plastic as a wonder product. Let's not make the plastic villain over here. It's not plastic which is the villain. It's the way we manage the plastic afterwards is what is the villain. I would put it that way. So that's something that has to be taken care of. And yes, if there is a chance that if we get in replacing plastic packaging with something else, we can always think about it. And our behavior can prompt the companies to make sure that their products don't come into over packaged products. They don't sell over packaged products. So that's something that we can do. What was the major steps taken by Indian government to reduce plastic? Durgesh Kumar asks this question. I would like to put it this way that the major steps the governments take is basically putting a blanket ban on certain types of plastics and chemicals. For example, the government has said no, the government has banned all the plastics below 30 microns. Let's say 30 microns in some state and then 20 microns in some states. Now that's a completely state matter. But the idea behind taking this step is the government cannot, take uh, a unilateral or a very specific step, because there are a lot of value chains associated when it comes to plastic waste. Now there are, there are trade unions, there are recycler unions, there are aggregators unions. There are a lot of unions which have this influence over the market. Now when the government, changes a law or anything, all these value chains get affected. That is the basic problem. So the government altogether cannot just ban plastic, because a lot of livelihoods are dependent on it. But what government can do is government can ban certain types of plastic which are harming the environment, but at the same time, the livelihoods are not getting affected. So the major steps taken by the Indian government to reduce the plastic is I wouldn't say plastic, but certain types of plastics which are there from the system. That is what they have been doing. And also the Indian government has what they have done is they have brought the EPR law, which you call it as extended producer responsibility. Now, what this law essentially states that whenever a company sells its products into plastic, they have to collect that plastic back and send it for recycling. So, for example, if I say a confectionery or a chocolate company is selling a chocolates in a state like Haryana, so the company has to submit a ledger where they say that this is the amount of chocolates that we sold in Haryana, and this is the amount of plastic packaging that was required to pack these chocolates. So they get a number from the government that they have to collect that same type of plastic back and they have to send it for recycling or co-processing. That is what the law says, and that was one of the major steps, which we call it as the extended producer responsibility, which was taken by the Indian government. Thank you so much. Praveen asks, what are the products which come out of from plastic in waste management? Sure. From waste plastic, there are a lot of products which are made. First is when we talk about the major type of plastic which is recycled is the PET, the polyethylene tetraflate. The first, when you see there's like number written on each type of plastic. So one number का जो plastic होता है, that is recycled the highest and has the highest quality. So the products which come out of that plastic is basically the sports t-shirts which are there, shoelaces are there. When you have these backpacks and everything, the threads, every thread it comes from a PET bottle. So that's one of the major products that are used. So anything synthetic fiber which you see, if it is not cotton, and any synthetic fiber that you see, be it blankets, be it woolens, be it bags, be it shoelaces, be it shoes themselves, everything comes from plastic bottles. So that's one of the major product which is there. Apart from that, plastic waste is also used in construction of roads. Now, soft plastic and plastic which doesn't have much value in recycling, it is crushed, it is processed, and it is used as a binding agent to make roads. That is one thing which is there. Apart from that, there's a lot of multi-layered packaging which we use nowadays. Now, like the namkeen packets or the chips packets or anything, it's all multi-layered plastic. The chocolate wrappers and everything. So all this plastic is sent to a cement factory or a factory where they use a lot of energy to burn things. So cement factory uses around 30 to 40% waste plastic and saves the money on coal, because they have to operate on a very high temperature. So they use that plastic because of its high calorific value. Now, the reason they use it is because of the high calorific value, since it's a petroleum product. Plastic comes from the waste petroleum, so it gives a lot of added advantage when it is used as a fuel. So we are also saving 30 to 40% of coal in this process, and we are also channelizing the plastic waste. So that's something which is being done. So I think we've answered all the questions, and since it is also the time, it has come to an end. So I would like to thank each one of you who joined this session and asked your questions, and maybe I just hope that I've been able to answer your questions correctly, and I hope that all of you will take action, whatever action you can take at an individual level. So I just hope that you take action. And if you have any doubt, or if you want to do a community awareness session with your community, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to me personally. I'm just putting my email ID over here. You can just reach out to me through my email, and we will definitely be able to conduct a session for especially for your community as well. So thank you very much. Thank you for attending the session, and I hope this session helped you in some or the other way to gain knowledge and make sure that what are the small actions that you can take. I just hope that you take those actions and come back to us with a positive story. Thank you so much.